Hey, how's it going, everybody? Shaun here for another edition of Shaun Solo, and yeah, I'm on camera today. Oh, crazy. So, just a long story short, I live in South Carolina. We're going through like a record heat wave right now. Every day has been over like 100 degrees. So most of my like video editing capabilities and stuff are a little bit hampered because my desktop is a little old and it's in an unair conditioned room that gets fucking oh my god, it gets so hot in there. So I can't really use it. I gotta take care of that thing. It's old, like I said, and it's the only one I got, and I'm not gonna be able to get a new one anytime soon. But I do have a laptop that I can carry around with me and stick it anywhere. But this is the only way I have to do it. So I guess I'm gonna do it this way for a little while, and for the time being, anyways. And just as a quick side note, Windows 8 is fucking terrible. I bought this laptop. It had Windows 8 on it. I fucking hate that thing. How do you can't even, it's so hard to find anything on this fucking thing. I mean, I'm a little computer illiterate when it comes to the more modern stuff, I guess, but it's kind of sucks. So I'm hoping Windows 10 is a little bit better. I think you get a free upgrade to Windows 10 because they want everybody on Windows 10. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the thing I want to talk about today. I want to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Oh my god. They did it. They blew it up. They blew E3 up. It's crazy. This thing's been rumored or talked about for over a decade, going all the way back to the PS3 like tech demo thing they showed years ago. They just wanted to show off kind of the power of the new system, of their new like platform or whatever, and so they did like redid the opening to Final Fantasy VII powered by the PlayStation 3, and everybody was super excited, and everybody was hoping, oh my god, they're going to do a Final Fantasy VII Remake, but no. And that's kind of the story of Square and Square Enix, right? Like, over the past decade, they are, I think, like, accidental trolls, They kind of, almost make announcements that get people excited, and then they pull back, like, no, that's not what we meant. You see that a lot. You see all that even in their press conference. Even when they were talking about the things, they've already announced and that people were already excited about, from the Final Fantasy VII Remake to Kingdom Hearts 3. They kept like teasing it out, like making it this thing before they were talking about it. So it's just kind of crazy. And the only big takeaway, I guess, from the E3 2015, the Square Enix conference, was you'll find out more later, probably this winter, I guess, right? Then there was a few interviews after the fact and people talking about, well, it's been in development for a year. Because if you remember, there was a thing, PlayStation Experience, months ago, and they were talking about they were going to make a big Final Fantasy VII announcement. And what they actually announced was the PS4 port of the PC version, the HD one that had come out on Steam, and you could buy through Square itself, Square Enix. You could buy it on the website, the one with the stat booster and all that kind of stuff. And people were really bummed. People were actually angry. You could hear audible disappointment in the audience when that thing was announced, and I felt so bad, actually, for the guy on stage who had to deal with that, because I imagine like halfway through that he must have realized, oh shit, they think this is something it's not. But anyways, that's in the past, right? Because they actually did, and they actually even made a CG trailer for it, right? A little teaser. They say it's been in development for about a year, which I don't know if I really buy. I think it was maybe a little bit more of a reaction to that PlayStation Experience thing that happened years ago, or not years ago, a few months ago. I'm not sure if this has really been in development for that long. It doesn't seem like it has. But even if it has, like, a year is not a lot. That's not very long for game development. Lots of kind of some of the old guard, the original people that worked on the game are coming back, and they're involved, like heavily involved. So that's cool. Like, that's something to be excited about, I think. Just so they can maybe shepherd it in the right direction. I get mixed feelings about it. Like, it says it's a remake, but they've gone on record through interviews and stuff, through various news outlets, that this is more of a reimagining, which actually kind of made me happy, because I don't want just a HD or like a graphics overhaul and then give me the same game. I think it's cool. Whenever I thought about this in the past, I was kind of hoping that it would have some type of like reinterpretation, basically, of the old game. Maybe tell the story a little bit differently. I think all the major beats should still be there. I think it should essentially be the same story, but the way you tell that story can be different, can grow, can progress. So for me, that's something to actually be excited about, because they're saying it's more of a reimagining, and that's really makes me hopeful, because however much I love that game, I've the short story of my history with the series. Final Fantasy VII means a lot to me. Like, it was a very seminal game for me. It was the first JRPG I ever really played. I was like 11 years old, so cut me some slack, all right? Cut me some slack. I wasn't really old enough for the Super Nintendo era of those games. I mean, conceivably I could have been, but I didn't own a Super Nintendo as a kid. We had Sega Genesis, and then we had PC, and that was kind of it. And the Sega Genesis didn't last very long because I was a fucking kid and I probably broke shit. And that's really the crux of it. I think I broke it, or at least partially broke it. I think, you know what I did? I bent the prongs where you stick the controller in when I was really little. Yeah, that's right, I did. And then years later, when I was a little bit older, I was able to bend the prongs back, and I actually got it to work because we still had it for some reason. I hooked it up to an old TV and played Altered Beast all the time, because that's the only game I could find. And we still played Altered Beast all the fucking time. But anyways, so it means a lot to me. And I play it all the time still, honestly. I own that HD PC port. I bought it on the PlayStation Network. I own it on, I've had it on disc since it came out. It was one of the first games I actually really bought. My grandmother gave me a giant jar of change that I was supposed to use for an Easter Sunday outfit, and I took the money. My mom took me to the bank. Then she took me to Walmart, and we were supposed to get some stuff, and it was like $75, I think it ended up being. And she was really cool. She's like, "Well, you still have some clothes. We can make it work. You just have to buy new shoes." And the shoes were like $15, so I had enough money to go get the Final Fantasy VII, and just been a lifelong fan ever since. Because I actually stumbled across it in like a mom and pop video rental place. That's the first time I ever played it. We used to go to this place. They used to have these great deals where they have weekend deals. You get 2 games for $7 and keep them for 7 days or something like that. And so it was cool. And I probably spent $30 just renting the game. So it was a seminal, came in at a seminal time. Right after I had the PlayStation 1 for a little while, and it just meant a lot to me. It's a game that, like I said, I continue to go back to. But having said that, it has not aged very well. My tolerance for the game is totally based in nostalgia. It's totally based in just how many times I've played it. It's like an old shirt for me, right? It's comfortable, but it's full of holes, and it's got problems, and I probably shouldn't wear it out in public. And that's kind of the best way I could describe how I feel about that game. I can't make excuses for it. It is what it is, and people are going to feel however they're going to feel about it. I think people are really harsh on that game, but there's a lot of broken stuff. That materia system is not very good. Not very good at all, actually. And that's really the main, system of the game. For the battle stuff, for upgrading your spells or your magic or whatever. And and it really came down to the inventory management and what would happen when you wanted to swap out characters, and not really having a good way to do that because of weapon types and the amount of slots they had. And so it just always felt, I don't know, it feels off, especially now. It feels like a hassle. It feels very tedious. It's not as tedious as, say, the junction system from Final Fantasy VIII, but it got its own amount of tedium, especially if you're even just talking about inventory management and keeping track of who has what and how to swap shit correctly, and it can be a real pain in the ass. You have to really take a lot of time to do that. You're going to spend more time than I think you would expect. I mean, at the time, we didn't really know any better, right? But now, looking back and having played it, I've probably beaten that game 6 or 7 times in my life. Which is more than I've probably beaten any other game, honestly. Oh, well, it's probably tied with Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy VII. Probably the most important games to me when I think back, nostalgically. And, I'm actually really hyped for Metal Gear Solid 5, so there's that, too. But, I kind of like what they've been saying. They're saying this is a reimagining, that they're not going to just slap a fresh coat of paint and give you the same game. Like, it's gonna have a unique experience. It's gonna have more. They're gonna change the story a bit. They're probably gonna change the battle system. I hope they kind of at least maintain a turn-based one, because while I don't mind the new systems they've had and like the more modern ones, like, you know, even 13, like the paradigm system is not something I despise or anything like that, but I don't know. I really hope they're able to walk that tightrope between like modern and old, because I think if they change too much, people are gonna flip out. People are gonna bitch. I'm not really gonna be one of those people. I'm gonna take it for what it is. I'm gonna enjoy it. Like, I'm gonna have fun with it, right? Like, it's to me, there's no point in like, you know, desiring something for so long and then just shitting all over what the final product is. I think we're all going to be pleasantly surprised, hopefully, right? Just because I think there's enough good people involved in terms of shepherding this remake or this reimagining, whatever you want to call it. That's actually probably would be a more apt description of it. They probably should stop calling it a remake and call it a reimagining, because even after the fact, I still hear a lot of confusion about what the game is going to be and what their kind of their philosophy is in making the game. You know, what's their kind of statement of direction? What's their purpose? And I hear a lot of confusion. A lot of people still talk about it like it's just going to be Final Fantasy VII with the graphics overhaul. I don't really think that's what we're going to get. I think we're going to actually get a more like full modern realization of the game, which I'm really cool with. I think what we're going to see is probably a lot of story elements from kind of the larger FF series. I think the games that came out, like, it was like the universe of FF7. I can't remember what the fuck it was called. They had like a name for it when they released all those kind of side quests, right? They had like Crisis Core and Dirge of Cerberus, and then they had like some Turks mobile game. And I don't think it ever went farther than that, because the only one that was really successful, in quotes, was probably Crisis Core. But you know, having it on the PSP probably hurt it, because even though that system did okay, I had a PSP. It didn't. There wasn't enough of an install base for that game to sell crazy well. But it's actually a really good game, and that would be a cool thing if they included that, like an HD version, kind of like they did with the Metal Gear Solid games with like Peace Walker, which was a really pleasant surprise. Like how good Peace Walker looks and how well it plays. It actually plays way better in that HD collection with that second joystick, and how they implemented it. So maybe we'll get something like that. That might be cool. But I also think that they're going to add like that backstory, like the stuff with Zack is going to be less of a bonus, less of a secret thing, you know, because in the original FF7 you had to, like, I can't remember where the hell you had to go, but I don't know, Costa del Sol or something, like, and you're in like a basement and you unlock like a memory, one of Cloud's memories of Zack at a certain point in the game, and you watch like kind of what happened to him and where, you know, why, you know, Cloud kind of took up his mantle or whatever, stole his identity to a certain degree. And I think that stuff's probably just going to be a lot more forward. I think it's just going to be more incorporated in the game. So when you get like that big reveal that Cloud is got amnesia and he's not really who he thinks he is, and he was never really a soldier first class, I think we're going to see that kind of thing like just more present in the story. Maybe even hinted at earlier in the game, or maybe they'll even do like kind of a section of the game where you get to play a flashback or something. I think that'd be really cool. I think just because of how much lore and media has been added to that like game and that series over the past, you know, almost 20 years now, which I think it's going to come out in like 2017. I think it's going to be on the 20th anniversary. That's when we'll actually see the game. So that's my prediction. But anyways, so much stuff has been added to that story, and so much more like, I guess, filling in missing pieces that were, you know, artificially created missing pieces to make a new game, but they are missing pieces nonetheless. I think that stuff's just going to be incorporated into the game. I'm really curious if they're still going to maintain like Yuffie and Vincent as like optional characters, or if they're actually going to be a main part of the party, like unavoidably so, you know, which is weird because I've never actually played that game without them. So I don't know if it would really affect much, to be honest with you, because their stories are really only like, especially Yuffie's, like most of her interaction is relegated to her like side quest that you get to go on if you actually unlock her character. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm hopeful, cautiously optimistic, I guess. I think whatever it is, whatever it ends up being, is going to be unique to itself, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with kind of moving on. I don't want like a straight remake, honestly. Like, I can go play the old game. I don't need a straight graphics upgraded port. I don't. Why would I want that? You know? I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people probably disagree with me, maybe, because like they just hold on to that game in a way that's more precious, like a little too precious about it, right? Like, while I am very precious about that game, I do understand, like, it is what it is. Like, I can go back and play it and enjoy it because I'm very comfortable with the systems and kind of all the problems with the game. I'm just comfortable with it. Like, but I don't need it to be done again, I guess, in the same way. Like, I want kind of forward progression with the series, especially if they're going to make this new game. I'm hopefully like they get, like, Square Enix kind of leaves them alone and doesn't mandate that they modernize it in the same way that the newer Final Fantasy games are kind of modernized. I mean, I have not played the demo for Final Fantasy 15, but I've watched people play it, and while it looks really interesting, it looks cool, it looks unique, it's kind of classic Final Fantasy. Like, every main iteration, they kind of rewrite the book of what Final Fantasy is. So you can't say that they're a lazy studio. No, they never really rest on their laurels. They're always very ambitious with their big Final Fantasy games. And it looks really interesting, but that is not the game I want to play for the Final Fantasy VII reimagining or remake. Like, that's not... I don't want kind of an open world game. I want it to maintain kind of a classic JRPG sense about it. I mean, I wouldn't mind if there's more of a, I don't know, like, interactive overworld thing where, like, when you're on the world map and maybe there's a little bit more of a open worldy feel when you're going from place to place. That would be cool. Like, might be interesting. But I don't know. Like I said, that we won't really know much more until probably like Gamescom, or they might even or TGS, the Tokyo Game Show. They might wait until then. Like, it says more information coming this winter. So they teased that there's going to be more of a tease, which is very, very apt for Square Enix, especially in the past, like, decade. Pretty much ever since Square and Enix, like, merged. That's kind of been their MO. Teasing teases. And everything taking forever to come out. So hopefully we'll see this game. My money, like I said, my money is on 2018. That will be when it actually comes out. The 20th anniversary of the game. Even if they finish it before that, I bet they hold it for the 20th anniversary. Bet they do. Bet they do. You heard it here first, folks. Because I haven't heard any speculation about, like, well, what's the potential release date? To me, or not 2018, 2017. That's when I think I'm going to think it's going to come out at the end of 2017. So Christmas 2017. That's the earliest I think it'll come out. Latest, sometime in 2018. I feel like, though, that 2017, I think they really got to try to hit that, because that's the 20th anniversary. Like I said, 20th anniversary. It would make sense from just like a marketing standpoint that it would make sense to do that, right? I think I'm right. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Of course I'm right, god damn it. When have I ever been wrong? Well, maybe a few times. But anyways, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, cautiously optimistic. Think there's some interesting things that could potentially be done with it. Because at the core, like, I really like the core story of that game. I don't like everything about the way it's told necessarily, especially now that I'm older. But I think the core story is really excellent. Probably my favorite, honestly, of JRPGs in general. Maybe that, or maybe Xenogears. I really like the story of Xenogears too. That's something else. Maybe they should remake that and actually finish it this time properly. That'd be cool. I think they should just remake all the classic Square Enix games. Why stop at Final Fantasy VII? Fuck. 20-year anniversary of Final Fantasy VIII is going to come around sooner or later, right? That game's got problems. Fix them. Give me a new beautiful version of it. I don't care. I'd rather have you do that than constantly sell me HD updates from games from fucking last generation. Ugh. And I'm such a sucker, I buy some of them too. So it's fucking my fault too. I'm sorry, guys. I let you all down. You know what pissed me off about Square Enix a lot, though? Okay, so last year I bought Final Fantasy... This is a side tangent. This has nothing to do with Final Fantasy VII. I bought Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD. Got the collector's edition. Bought it when it first came out, right? A few months later they announced it's also coming for PS4. I feel like I should get like the cross-platform on that one. I think I should. Is that entitled to me? Is that greedy? Maybe a little bit. But come on, man. You sold me something, and then and I had to buy it because that was the only way to get it. Because PS4 was already out. Why didn't they release it also for PS4 at the time? Because now I really want to have it on my PlayStation 4, but I don't want to pay that fucking money for it, man. So I'm gonna have to wait till I find it used somewhere, or it's on sale for like $10. Not fair, man. Because while I still have my PlayStation 3 hooked up, it's pretty much a Netflix box at this point. A little bit different now, since I'm in South Carolina in this fucking ungodly heat. So basically, my wife and I are relegated to our bedroom. This is our bedroom. This laptop is sitting on a pile of blankets on our bed. There's an AC in here. There it is. Back there behind my shoulder. The AC's there. That's where the AC is. That's the only AC we have in our house. So, we're kind of living the studio apartment life right now. Because it's too expensive to run that AC all day to cool this whole house down. This is a very old house. It's not insulated very well. I kind of hate this house, honestly. Lived here for about a year. It stops me from doing a lot of things I'd like to do. A lot of creative endeavors get stopped because of this house. Hopefully that'll change in a few months at the end of the summer. So I just have to suffer through one more of these. But on the plus side of that, maybe I'll just sweat enough to lose some fucking weight. That'd be great. That'd be wonderful. Anyways, Final Fantasy VII reimagining / remake / cash grab / what we want, right? It doesn't even matter that it's a cash grab to some extent, right? I guess we won't really know until the final product comes out, but it doesn't even really matter because it's what everybody wants. Everybody wants it. I can't wait to fucking read all the think pieces about this thing when they don't change enough. Because it has transphobic scenes. Transphobia. Cloud cross dresses. Somebody cracks wise about it. So we all have to be offended. Barrett. Mr. Barrett or Barrett, however the fuck you want to pronounce it, I don't care. Is too much of a black caricature. That has no place in the modern world. Or so they say, right? Those things are already coming out. There's already articles about like how are the top 5 things Final Fantasy VII has to change. So they're gonna probably dilute a little bit of the charm because there's a goofy charm to that stuff. Because it is ridiculous. It's silly. It's stupid. It's a fucking video game. It's not one that's meant to be taken seriously. It's not The Last of Us. It's not like something like that where it's like we're trying to tell you a really serious, deep story. Granted, there's some depth to the story. It's not shallow or anything like that, but it's also not very profound. It's kind of classic science fiction mixed with like Japanese stuff. Japanese tropes, you know? I'm okay with it being that way, are you? You should be. Don't be a bigot. Don't be hating. That's coming from me. I lived in South Carolina. Not originally from South Carolina, mind you. I'm a Massachusetts person through and through. Always have been, always will be. You know what I'm saying? But I do live in South Carolina. The home of hatred. Alright, I'm rambling. I'm going on. This is not even making any fucking sense. I probably shouldn't even upload this, but fuck it. I don't care. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday, everybody. Alright, I'm Shaun, and I'll talk to you guys next time I have something to talk about.